content and material discussed in these podcasts are for informational purposes only and are not intended to be a substitute for your professional veterinarian's advice, diagnosis, or treatments. Always seek the assistance of your own veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding the medical condition of your pet.
Excuse me, are you in the know? This is a Noman.co production.
Hello and welcome to Talking Pets Podcast with Dr. Gary Clemons. So you think you want to breed your dog. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before I begin today's topic, I want to discuss how dog ownership has changed over the years. In the United States and many other countries, dogs have transitioned in the last 50 years from being chained to a doghouse in the backyard to sharing a bed with their owners. The pet food and pet supply business is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I would be willing to bet many pet owners take more pictures of their pets than they probably did of their children. Many people celebrate their dog's birthday, they buy them Christmas gifts, and they dress them up for Halloween. They board their dogs at pet spas that feature suites with cameras so the owners can monitor them while they're being boarded. As a veterinarian, I've had more than one owner tell me they would rather spend eternity with their dog than their spouse. And knowing these owners very well, they weren't kidding. Why do dog owners feel this way? I think it's very simple. Other than God, who loves you more unconditionally than your dog? You can have a fight with your spouse or boss, have a terrible day at work, have a fender bender on the way home. But when you finally arrive home, your dog is always there, wagging his tail and giving you kisses like he hasn't seen you for a week. I am working on this podcast while on vacation at an RV park in Florida. My wife Donna borrowed a DVD called Hachi, A Dog's Tale, which is actually based on a true story. The screenplay was adapted to portray this event happening in the U.S., but the actual dog, named Hachiko, was born in 1923 and belonged to a professor named Dr. Isaburo Uno at Tokyo University in Japan. Every day, Hachiko followed his owner to the train station, and every evening, Hachiko would be waiting for his master to return. Unfortunately, his master died, maybe had a heart attack while at the university, and never returned one evening. But every evening, Hachiko would return to the same spot waiting for his master, who never returned. Hachiko returned every day for 9 years, hoping to see his master. Hachiko eventually died in 1934 while waiting for his master. In order to honor Hachiko, who was quite famous by that time, a bronze statue was placed outside the Shibu train station at the exact spot where he had waited for his master for 9 years, and that statue is still there. This is why we love our dogs so much. If you watch this heartwarming movie, be sure to have a box of tissues handy. One thing that always brings a tear to my eyes is watching videos of soldiers coming home from deployment where they've been gone for, 6 months or 12 months, and they finally get to see their dog for the first time. The sheer joy and happiness expressed by most of these dogs and their owners is a really special event to observe. Our two dogs, Annie and Archie, act the same way. I can be away from home for 1 hour, and when I return, they act like I've been gone for a week. I cannot imagine life without a dog. As a veterinarian, my favorite client encounter was when a family with kids finally get their first dog. The wife would say the kids had been begging their father for several years to get them a puppy. Dad finally gives in and allows them to get a pup. Many times the father never had a dog as a child and has no clue about the human-animal bond with the dog. During their first puppy visit, the dad's usually sort of a quiet observer with the wife and kids hanging on my every word as I discuss caring for their new bundle of joy. By the third visit, however, most of the dads are totally in love with their puppy, and their wife will often show me a picture of the dad asleep on the couch with a puppy, asleep on his chest, or pictures of the dad playing with a puppy. This next situation I totally enjoy is when an individual, usually in their 40s or 50s, finally get their first dog. Usually, they're already in total love with their new best friend the first week they have it. They usually say to me, "Look at all the love and devotion for my dog I've missed out over all these years." These clients, especially if they're single, would spend anything on their new baby in order to keep it healthy. I once had a client ask me if I would be willing to take her dog if she died before he did. And if I took him, she would put money in her will to provide provide for his care. Now, this dog was a large Dalmatian. He wasn't real friendly with other dogs, and I knew he wouldn't get along with our 2 dogs and our 2 cats. I told her I would think about it. Her dog was a senior, and he passed away before she did, so I avoided that dilemma. Again, thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast, Should I Breed My Dog? Now back to the topic. You may wonder why I presented the opening that I did. Well, it's because many dog owners truly believe their dog is the most beautiful, smartest, best behaved dog in the world, and they would love to have a puppy from her to carry on her legacy. I totally understand how they feel, and what I hope to do today is simply give the pros and cons of what is involved if you want to breed your dog. I hope this information will make your decision much easier. The first question I would ask is, what is your primary reason you want to breed your dog? Usually there's about 3 or 4. 1, people with purebred female dogs think since they paid a lot of money for their dog, and if they breed her, they too can make a lot of money. 2, they simply want to have an offspring from their dog they love so much. And 3rd, and I'm always blown away by this reason when I hear it, they want their children to see the miracle of birth. Yes, a few actually said that. Again, thank you so much for joining me in today's topic. Now let's discuss several things to consider to help you make your final decision. What I will be discussing in this topic will be for male and female dogs, but I will use the pronoun she because more people have female dogs than may want to breed than male dogs. I may also use the term dam, D-A-M, which is the name for the female dog, and the stud, which is the male dog. The first thing to consider is your dog's conformation or body type. By this I mean, how does she compare to other dogs of the same breed? Is she normal size? Does she have any defects of her legs or body? Does she have a normal bite, meaning do all her teeth line up well, no overbite or underbite? Does she have sound temperament and behavior? A good way to evaluate your dog's conformation if she's a purebred is to seek out someone who has been a breeder of your dog's breed for many years. Be willing to take their advice, knowing ahead of time you may get your feelings hurt by them telling you your dog should not be bred. You can also ask your veterinarian who knows your dog's medical background and especially your dog's temperament. Remember, if she has poor conformation and genetic defects, they would likely be passed on to her puppies. Many large breed dogs and even a few small breeds have hip and elbow dysplasia, which can eventually result in arthritis, which can be a crippling disease. I always recommend to my clients with large breed dogs that they should have their dog x-rayed and certified by a group such as OFA, which is Orthopedic Foundation for Animals, or Penn Hip prior to breeding. Your veterinarian will take x-rays, usually with the dog sedated, and the x-rays will be sent to OFA or Penn Hip, where they will be evaluated by a board-certified veterinary radiologist who will determine if your dog has normal or abnormal joint conformation. There are also certification for dogs' eyes because some dogs have genetic eye problems. Keep in mind, if your dog has hip dysplasia and you're unaware of it, all of her puppies could potentially develop dysplasia as well. There's nothing worse than somebody having a litter of 10 puppies and selling all the puppies, and then 2 or 3 years later, one of the people that bought a puppy from you calls up and says their dog has hip dysplasia. Was your dog x-rayed? Wow. You get your dog x-rayed and find out she has terrible hips, and you just produced a litter of 10 pups, many of them with bad hips as well. So I always recommend if you purchase a large breed dog to be sure the breeder has had their dog x-rayed and certified prior to breeding. Our friends at Odor Exit have generously offered, for our listeners only, a bottle of their amazing odor eliminating product, Odor Exit, and an ultraviolet black light to find those pet urine stains. This is a $50 value. In my 46 years as a veterinarian, I tried many products that were supposed to eliminate pet odors, but none of them worked as well as Odor Exit. Entering to win is easy. All you have to do is like and share my Facebook page, Talking Pets with Dr. Gary Clemons, with one friend. That's it. One winner will be posted monthly on my Facebook page. Good luck and thanks for sharing. Another thing is how old should your dog be before you breed her? Small breed dogs mature before large breed dogs, and the growth plates in their bones close earlier. The OFA x-rays cannot be certified until a dog is 2 years old, so that would be the earliest that I would recommend breeding a large breed dog. Even small breed dogs shouldn't be rushed to be bred. Now let's talk about wanting to make money by breeding your dog. I'm going to list potential costs involved in breeding. There can be x-rays and certifications, often requiring sedation or anesthesia. A stud fee for the the male dog selected, assuming you choose a breeder with a high-quality stud dog. I really discourage what we call backyard breeding, where you have a female dog that is purebred and your neighbor has a male dog that is purebred, and you say, let's breed them. Many times this occurs without any consideration of the dog's conformation or temperament. Your veterinarian may perform a vaginal cytology or progesterone test to determine the best time to breed, and there could be travel expenses if the stud dog is not close by. Now, birthing complications can occur, which could require a veterinary visit. What if your dog starts delivering puppies, which is called whelping, and you're at work and complications occur? A veterinary visit would be necessary, but if you're not home, it may be too late. She could die giving birth and the puppies could die. Many dogs whelp, which means giving birth, at nighttime, which could require a trip to a 24-hour clinic, which can mean big bucks. Now, it's great to have 24-hour clinics available, and it's expensive to operate them, so it can be expensive if you have to use them. Also, there's no guarantee the pups will be delivered alive. Some dogs don't get pregnant or may have only 1 or 2 puppies. Then your dream of big bucks will go down the drain. Other expenses are x-rays or ultrasounds to determine if in fact she is pregnant and how many puppies she has. I always think it's a good idea to have your dog x-rayed when pregnant so we can count the number of pups before she delivers. Then when she's finally delivering, you will know whether or not she still has puppies to deliver or she's finished delivering. And sometimes this can save a trip to the veterinarian's office to find out if she still has puppies left. Some breeds require tail docking and dew claw removal, and there will be veterinary visits for wormings and vaccinations for the pups. Another thing is, do you have time to care for the pups? Will you be able to sell the pups, or will you be so emotionally involved you'll want to keep them all? And I've had that happen, and then people get too many animals and they can't afford to take care of them all properly. The third reason people will give for wanting to breed their dog is so their kids can see the miracle of birth. You know, this is a no-brainer. There are literally millions of unwanted dogs euthanized every year because their owners did not spay or neuter their dogs, and there are more dogs than there are loving homes. So, if you want your kids to see the miracle of birth, buy them an aquarium, get some guppies, because they give live birth, and watch a YouTube video of a dog giving birth. Okay, let's say you've decided you do want to breed your dog. She's going to have pups. You will need a birthing or whelping box for the pups. Your dog's normal temperature is 101 to 102, so it's important to know ahead of time what her normal temperature is. You will need to check her temperature 2 times daily during the last week of her pregnancy. A normal pregnancy is about 58 to 62 days, somewhere in that region. 48 hours before whelping, the temperature usually drops to 100 degrees, and 24 hours before whelping, it drops to around 99, so that gives you a little bit of a heads up. I won't discuss the birthing process or how long after hard contractions the pup should be delivered or how long between pups. You can discuss this with your own veterinarian. You should have a bulb syringe available to aspirate the mucus out of the pup's throat and thread to tie the umbilical cord. Once the pups are delivered, I suggest putting a piece of different colored yarn on each pup so you can keep track of them better. You should have a calorie scale and weigh each pup daily to be sure they're all getting enough to eat. If there's some that aren't getting enough to eat and their weight is dropping, you may need to bottle feed them or tube feed them or place them on one of the dam's nipples more often so it can nurse. You should check the dam's breast daily for mastitis, where the breast becomes very painful, swollen, and inflamed. Make sure the dam has all the food she wants and feed her a high-quality puppy food which contains more protein. There are situations where the pups are nursing so much the dam's calcium level can drop too low and she could have tremors or seizures and require an IV calcium infusion. So if you do have pups and you see her tremoring or twitching, get her to the vet right away. When the pups are 4 to 5 weeks old, you can begin offering them some solid food. And what I usually would tell people, take some puppy food, put it in a blender, and make a gruel. Place some of the gruel in paper plates and place a small amount in each pup's mouth. As they begin to eat more solid food, gradually reduce the dam's food intake, which will reduce their milk production and help prevent the mastitis. The pups and dams should be wormed every 2 weeks, starting about 4 weeks of age. And it's also a good idea to start trimming the tips of the pup's toenails because they can do a lot of damage to the poor dam's breast. When you finally take the pups away from the dam, be sure to check her breast every day for mastitis. The pups can begin going outdoors in your own yard, weather permitting, to start their house training. There should be no exposure to other dogs or strangers until after their first vaccination, usually around 7 weeks of age. The ideal age to sell or give the pups away is 8 weeks old. Don't do it before then because puppies learn how to bite on each other. They learn some socialization skills and fighting skills. And by fighting, I mean they learn if they bite too hard, the other pup bites them back. Now, I've talked mostly about female dogs, now let's talk about your male dog or the stud dog. Not all male dogs need to be neutered. I've had owners with unneutered male dogs that are well trained, they don't pee in the house, they don't run away, they obey their owners, and they're wonderful dogs. The average family will usually have their dog neutered to help prevent unwanted problems. The three things that neutering helps is decrease hiking their leg to pee on things, mounting behavior, and wanting to run away looking for female dogs. Neutering also eliminates the risk for testicular cancer. If you think you want to breed your male dog, you should have him evaluated by a reputable breeder as well. If your dog is a large breed dog or one that is prone to hip dysplasia, you should have your dog x-rayed prior to breeding. There's one last thing I want to mention to owners of female dogs. It is highly recommended that the earlier that they are spayed, usually around 5 or 6 months, the less chance of developing breast cancer when they are older. Each heat cycle they experience increases the chance for this cancer. This fact alone may discourage you from wanting to breed your female dog, and it also prevents them from getting an infected uterus called pyometra when they're older, which they can die from. I hope this information has been helpful. Please put a lot of thought into the decision to breed your dog. If you really want another dog or a companion for your dog, please consider a shelter or rescue dog, and don't bring more puppies into this world that may not find a loving home. You've been listening to Talking Pets with Dr. Gary Clemons. Join my Facebook page with the same name and listen to my previous podcast. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast. I will post it on my Facebook page, Talking Pets with Dr. Gary Clemons. If you have questions about this podcast or suggestions about future podcasts, please post them there. So for now, I'm Dr. Gary Clemons. Please consider adopting your next pet from a rescue group or animal shelter. Spay and neuter your pets, and if God's willing, I'll be back soon with another podcast at Talking Pets with Dr. Gary Clemons. And for now, so long, love your pets with all the love they deserve, and have a blessed week.